Jacob's in a new location.
Jacob's office for the first time. What's up, guys? Welcome to the KSR Happy Hour, presented by Country Boy Brewing. My name is Tyler Thompson. I'll be your host today, and I've brought in a big panel of KSR writers to help me out. I've got, if we're going counterclockwise here, Jack Pilgrim, who is checking in from outside. And if it's like anything like it is here in Nashville, it is muggy as all get out outside. So
it's stunning. It's actually pretty outside. So that's why we're doing it. It's, it's vibes are good. Happy hour. Why not enjoy the beauty outside?
Speaking of the vibes, we've got Zack Geoghegan, who is representing Country Boy Brewing today.
Oh.
Hold up. This is not the can from last week, correct?
It's the can from the first week, 2 weeks ago.
All right. But not the same exact can. Yeah.
Not the same exact can.
Right. So he is modeling the Country Light, which is Country Boys Brewing's delicious summertime ale. It is 95 calories and 1.8 carbs. Perfect for a Monday afternoon. And finally, last but not least, we have Jacob Polacheck from KSR Plus. He's checking in from his new house, I'm assuming, unless we're just from a location yet to be disclosed.
I'm in the new house, in the office. It's nice away from the dog, even though I love the dog, but he's sitting on the couch.
Oh, no more Atticus. That makes me sad. We'll have to bring him in for old time's sake at some point. So as you've noticed, probably Drew Franklin is not with us today. He has much more important things to do. He was in London, Kentucky for KSR's radio show, which was there to cover the scene from Friday's deadly tornado and the relief efforts underway. He will be back next week. But yeah, it's just awful. We'll get going there because I think that's the most important story of the day in Kentucky, and it's getting national coverage as well. I was in Ireland for a week and just got back on Saturday. So Saturday morning, I woke up in Dublin, Ireland, checking my phone, and it's 6 hours ahead of time or ahead of Central Time there. So I opened up Twitter, going through my feed, and saw all the pictures and videos of the devastation. And it was kind of before anybody else, in the Eastern time zone was awake. So it was weird. It was like I was having this moment with not a ton of people to interact with on Twitter, seeing the scenes. And it was just devastating. I think it was that the tornado was an EF3, they think. It was on the ground for up to 2 hours, and it covered 55 miles. Just incredible, devastating damage. And I'm sure all of you guys had a very big reaction when you saw it. Jack, why don't we start with you? We're looking at some photos from Les Nicholson, KSR's photographer, who went to London yesterday to kind of survey the damage. Jack, what was your initial reaction when you saw the news of the tornado?
Well, it's such a BBN heavy area where, so many people that we interact with on a day-to-day basis are, diehard Kentucky fans from the 606. I mean, it's one of the most passionate segments of the fan base live down there. So over the course of, the years I've been doing this job, you just develop these unbelievably close relationships with those people. And, you wake up in the group messages that you're in with them and like they're frantic. They're like, I lost everything. My dad lost everything. My cousin, the business that we've owned for our entire lives is gone. You feel so helpless being, we were in Memphis at the recruiting event for EYBL, and you just feel so helpless being far away and, just watching everybody's lives in that area just, completely flip upside down. And, you kind of, once you leave there and go to that recruiting event, you just kind of have to, keep moving throughout your day. And, I kind of sit down and I'd get back to work for, I was running the site on Saturday, and then the pictures of Reed Shepherd come out. And I'll be honest, like I had tears streaming down my cheeks while I was sitting there with thousands of people in the gym, where it's just like, it's such an overwhelming emotion that comes from seeing so many close people in your lives. And obviously Reed Shepherd, that's his home. How much that area means to him, and the hometown is just, it was as crushing of a feeling as I can remember having. I'm sick for them.
Yeah, it's awful. And as you can see in these pictures, Mark Pope also joined the relief and recovery efforts yesterday. I saw he brought two of his daughters with him to help out. I think that's so cool. None of that was publicized. None of us would have probably known had somebody not taken a picture and shared it. It just kind of speaks to how much his connection to the state and commitment to, helping them rebuild. I think it's great. We have our YouTube live chat. We've got some people chiming in. Carl Miller, he lives in London. He says a lot of people have lost everything they own. And, I think Reese Nonverba kind of echoes my thoughts and saying it was hard to believe that was just an EF3 tornado. That's the winds of that are crazy. But I think that they said it may have gotten up to an EF4 at times. Just insane stuff and really hard to see. For my personal standpoint, I lived in Nashville in 2020 when the tornado came through my neighborhood, and we were incredibly fortunate. It came just a few blocks from our house, so we didn't have any damage, but literally 2 blocks down the road, people lost everything. And I think that there's an emotion if you haven't lost anything, but you're so close to everyone, to people who have, it's like a helplessness, but also like guilt. It's really tough. And just the images coming out of there are just haunting. And, they will be rebuilding for years. And I thought it was really cool that they had the Kentucky State Senator Brandon Storm on this morning's show, on the KSR show. And he was talking about ways people can help now. And specifically the things they need now, they need tarps because there's another big storm system coming in tomorrow. So people are trying to tarp up their houses, their belongings, just to make sure those don't get further ruined. They need work gloves. They need plastic Tupperware containers to put their stuff in. They want to protect the things that they still have. So if you're able, we've got more information on KentuckySportsRadio.com about how you can, get those donations down there. I know the Team Kentucky Storm Relief Fund is a good option. If you just want to make a monetary donation, those folks are really, really going to need it. I think the death count is up to 19 as of the last I saw from Governor Beshear. It's just sad stuff. And Zack, you were running the site yesterday, so I know you were seeing a lot of stories about it and writing about it, and just really sad stuff. So I'll turn it to you next.
Yeah, I won't add too much more, just other than it's awful. It's every few months now, some national disaster is kind of ripping through Kentucky. But one thing I will notice, especially running through, or I'll point out, going through all of Les's pictures, is there's a lot of smiling faces on all these people as well. So, if you have to take one little bit from all this, you can say that all these people down there are going to find ways to come out of this. So that's a little bit reassuring, knowing that they're all still kind of one big happy community, and they'll band together. And as you can see, like you've got Reed Shepherd, he was down there pretty much immediately helping out. You had Mark Pope go down there. So they will rebuild. They'll all come back together. It's just going to take some time. And, hopefully the storms that are coming over the next couple of days aren't nearly as bad as they were. I think I saw, I don't know if it was on TikTok or somewhere, but I saw a video of someone like in an airplane or a helicopter going over, and you could see the path that the tornado took, like as it was going through these areas. It was just you could visibly see like where the tornado was kind of going through the mountains there. And it was just like, wow, that's kind of, it doesn't, I think the what Matt was saying, like on Twitter, is like the pictures don't really do it justice, and the pictures look really bad. So just stinks. Whatever we can do to help, we're going to try to do. Donating is really the best thing that we can do right now. And unless we can offer our time to go down there, those are just whatever ways we can kind of pitch in is what we're all trying to do right now. So it stinks because I've got family down there. I think most Kentucky people all have family down there. So it's just a bummer, and it just keeps happening here, and it's just unfortunate. But like I said, it's nice to see some smiling faces in those pictures, knowing that they're going to come out of it somehow, some way. They're all going to find ways to come out of it. So that was kind of one of my bigger takeaways from just looking at those pictures that Les took when he was down there with, I think he was with North Laurel or South Laurel's basketball team. The boys basketball team was out there like immediately helping out. Those are the people you saw in those pictures there. So that's cool stuff at least.
Yeah, and Matt tweeted out a picture of the North Laurel high school football team. They were out there today helping out. So it's just really cool. And, like we talked about, Mark Pope and Reed Shepherd, obviously them just having them there helping is great. But I'm sure it lifted the spirits of some folks who could really use a smile. And so our thoughts are with you guys. Res Nonverba, says not to minimize the human suffering, but a lot of dogs and cats were confused and out of sorts, just really surreal and sad. So just really sad stuff. And our thoughts are with everybody down there. If you're watching, and just chime in on the chat and know that we're thinking of you, and we're here for you in any other way we can be. So there's no good way to segue out of this story. So I'm just going to go right to something that is on our plate that is hopefully much, much more lighthearted, and that's the Kentucky baseball team. Zack, we're going to say goodbye to you for a few minutes, but you'll be back. We're going to bring in Daniel Hager, who is KSR's Kentucky baseball beat writer. What's up, Daniel? How's it going?
I'm good. Just made the 6-hour drive I'm staying in Birmingham, so it's like 20 minutes away from Hoover, but ready to go. This is my third SEC tournament covering. I think the Cats are 1-3 in the 2 that I've been to, so I haven't had the best success, even with as good as their seasons have been. So I'm hoping to go out with at least 1 or 2 wins this year.
Yeah, I know. I was going to say Hoover hasn't been very kind to you or the Batcats lately, but just so when I left for Ireland, Kentucky baseball was about to host, it was Oklahoma, and they ended up sweeping that series. And it was like, great, they've regained the momentum. They really needed a few more quality wins to put on the resume for the NCAA tournament. It looked like they got it. You know, they had this series coming up with Vanderbilt at Vanderbilt. If they could just get one of those 3, then they'd be cool. They'd be in great shape. Not only did that not happen, what happened was probably just the worst case scenario in terms of that series. I couldn't watch it, obviously being abroad, but I kept up with the headlines and your work. And just take us through what a truly disappointing and heartbreaking series, you know, starting with the first 2 games they lost in walk-off fashion. Just what a gut punch, right?
Yeah, I said it on social media on Sunday and got a little bit of pushback for it, but over the past 3 seasons, I think that is the most disappointing series that they've played in. People were pointing to the Mississippi State series earlier this season where they got swept without a coach. Mississippi State had fired their coach just days before, and they got swept. The Vanderbilt series, I would say, is most disappointing because when you look at it, they had at least a 2-run lead in all 3 of those games. The first game, they jumped out to a 5-0 lead. The second game, they had all the momentum, came all the way back and led, and then walk-offs both games. Just ridiculous. This season has been really challenging with this team because I would say 23, they started off really strong, kind of cooled off, ended really strong. Last year, they were strong all season long. This year has just been an up and down like roller coaster of, okay, they looked really good this game. Oh, God, they just lost to Belmont or whoever, Xavier.
Western Kentucky,
which that game was that was a crapshoot. It just rain and delay, whatever. But it's like they would look so good in these series. The Tennessee series, nobody picked them to go down there, and they beat Tennessee, although Tennessee has been down this year. Then they just come back and lose a stinker, drop one to South Carolina, who is just horrible, get swept by Mississippi State. The peaks and valleys with this team has been insane. Looking at their lineup, they have not had a definitive lineup all season long, which is something that has really made my head spin. Because when you look at it, there are guys who play that should not be playing, and there are guys who are playing that should get more playing time. The last 2 seasons, they've really had that figured out. I mean, by the middle of SEC play, you would know. I would have the starting lineup tweet ready. You would know who 1 through 9. They did not change their position. They did not change their spot in the lineup. And you look this year, and it's like, oh, this game, Luke Lawrence is batting second, and next game he's batting 9th. Or Sean Montoya is playing this game, and then he doesn't play for 4 more games. You know, it's just it's been a really difficult season for them, and they're still probably going to make the NCAA tournament. So I think that just kind of shows how good of a coach that Nick Miggione really is, where he's taking this program. And looking back, when I started on this beat, when I was hired in September of 2022, I went into it thinking, man, with how they've been, I might by the end of my time here, I might be writing about a coaching search like they did on the women's basketball beat. But instead, I ended up making 3 trips to Hoover and then 1 to Omaha last year with Steven. So it's been a weird season. I'll just wrap that up saying that it's been a weird season.
Yeah, I mean, you nailed it. I read one of your articles yesterday about how it seems like this team's inability to close has been their Achilles heel. And I was watching Nick Mingione on Feinbaum earlier about an hour ago, and he had a stat that was kind of crazy. He said this team was 5 plays away from winning 4 more SEC series.
Yeah.
Like they went through it. That's insane. So it really is just a razor thin margin. I think they're projected to be a number 3 seed in the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, as of now, I know people have been really chill about them getting in, like that it's expected. I mean, they could go out and lose tomorrow to Oklahoma, and I still think they'll be in. But I think it'll be a lot closer of a margin that people expect. Because, I mean, if you look, their last 4 out on 2 of the field of, or last 4 in on 2 of the field of 64 projections I've seen today. If you look at their resumes and RPIs and stuff, it's not great. It's good enough to be a 3 seed, but some of those midweek losses have kind of sunk them. If you look around the country in some of these conference championships, just like it is with basketball, bid stealers. If bid stealers come out of nowhere and they're taking these, and some teams that are on the outside looking and win 3 or 4 games in a conference tournament, they could maybe sneak into that 3 seed. If Kentucky goes out and gets smoked tomorrow, that puts them at 29-25, 13-17 in the SEC. I think that they should be cool getting in, but I don't know. It's been weird. That's how I would describe this season. They loved putting out that baseball is weird thing last year. It really is weird this year.
Yeah, so like you said, Kentucky starts the SEC tournament tomorrow against Oklahoma. So Kentucky's the number 12 seed, Oklahoma the number 13 seed. That game starts at 2:00. I'm sure it'll be on the SEC Network Live, so you can watch. I mean, like I said, that there is something good in that they've beaten Oklahoma. They swept the Sooners, or just a couple of weeks ago or last week. So that's on their side. Stephen, I don't know if you have it. Maybe we could pull up the bracket so we can see. We don't want to look too far ahead, as Hoover has shown us with this team. But hopefully the path is there. How many games do they need to win to feel fully confident that they're going to make the field? The NCAA tournament field.
Just one. Just come out and win tomorrow, and I would say lock it up. That's a 3rd straight, which they've never done, which is also a kind of a crazy feat. All 3 of my years covering the program, they made the tournament. They had never done that before, ever. So just go out and win 1 tomorrow, and I think they're solidly a 1. If they were to mess around and win maybe 3, that could maybe bump them up to a number 2 seed. But I'd say the odds of that, especially with their pitching, which we've seen lately has not been great, especially out of the bullpen, that could maybe get them there. But I mean, if you would look, if you get UK and Georgia's pitching has been not good all year. Their offense started off hot, and it's not that great anymore. Then you get Vanderbilt. We just saw how close UK was to literally sweeping that series, and they got swept. So I just think this is one of those years in the SEC tournament, which it hasn't been the case the last 2 years, where I think anyone can win it. If a team gets hot, they can really go. I mean, last year you had Tennessee, a powerhouse. No one was going to touch them year before. But this year, it's UK. If they win that Oklahoma game, they can get that Georgia game. And I'd love to see Vanderbilt again, honestly. I would love to see that matchup again. They were neck and neck with them. So with it being single elimination this year, I'm not going to get ahead of myself, but I'm just excited. I hope we get at least 2 games here. I hope it makes it worth the drive.
I hope so. I mean, you haven't had great luck at Hoover, so let's send you out of Hoover with on a good note. So, and this time next week, we'll be getting ready for the selection show, right?
Yes. Yep.
All
yep.
right.
Last 2 years, it's been more of a celebration, as we knew that they'd be regional hosts. But this year, we'll be seeing where they get shipped, whether it's Clemson, Chapel Hill, Conway, which is Coastal Carolina, I believe. That would be a pretty cool site for them to go play on. So a lot of stuff coming up for them.
All right, good. Well, Daniel, go get him some wins. Hopefully you have a long week in Hoover where you can try all of Birmingham, Alabama's suburbs, chain restaurants, all of them. I've been down there for SEC Media Days before. I know that stretch of highway very well. So enjoy yourself. And do you have anything else you want to say, maybe?
I will make the announcement that I'm staying in the On3 family, joining the national news desk, getting that underway soon. So I will update you all in the future with whatever else comes out about that.
All right. We will respect your decision, and we will have tons of On3 hats and gear to share with you, because I still have a whole box of it that I have yet to dole out. So very excited to keep you in the family, and we'll be hearing from you soon. So thank you,
All right.
Daniel.
See you guys.
Cheers to you. And speaking of cheers, let's talk a little bit more about Country Boy. So Zack, we're bringing you back on. How's the can progress here?
I can see my condensation level. I'm about halfway there, so I've been sipping off camera. Can I just say one thing real quick about Daniel?
Yeah.
Before we do a Country Boy shout out, Daniel Hager has owned the Kentucky baseball beat for about 3 years now. No one else in the Kentucky sports world, except for maybe Derek Terry, who kind of does it as like a side thing, is even in his realm for the coverage in terms of covering every game, going to all the home games, doing, non-essential, like non-recap type articles, doing message board stuff, podcasts. Like, there's not anyone that's been more dedicated to killing that beat than Daniel Hager. So I'm super proud of him. Glad that he's finally get kind of the recognition he's deserving by getting a nice bump to the On3 world where he can still stay with us. And another thing I'll say is, if you're a KSR intern, there's a good chance you're going to see some sort of really good run from the team. We had Alex Weber cover the volleyball championship in 2020. Grant Grubbs, shout out to him, covered the SEC women's basketball championship in 2022, I think it was. Daniel Hager saw them go to the College World Series.
He went to Omaha.
I'm just saying. He went to Omaha. So I'm just saying, if you're a KSR intern, you're covering one of these beats, you're probably going to see something pretty cool. Phoenix Stevens has gotten to see the whole Kenny Brooks transformation, him and Katie Hutchison. So shout out to all the KSR interns. They do big things when they come in here and even after when they leave.
Absolutely. And if you want to become a KSR intern, we'll probably be putting a call out sometime this summer. So keep your eyes out.
This summer.
You get to work with the awesome Zack Geoghegan, who manages our interns and does a great job. So cheers to you, Zack. Cheers to Daniel, and cheers to Country Boy Brewing, our awesome partner. Looking at my notes, I still have yet to get some Country Boy because they don't sell it in Nashville, and sadly, I couldn't find it in Ireland. So I'm going to be making a drive to the state line this weekend to have some for Memorial Day weekend. But if you're in Lexington or the Lexington area, you can check out the Original Brewery and Tap Room, which is just down the street from KS Bar on Chair Avenue. They have 24 beers and ciders on tap, so there's something for everybody. My favorite is the Cliff Jumper, which is their IPA. It is delicious. The Country Light would be perfect for a Memorial Day barbecue. So go on and get you some Country Boy Brewing. And while we're talking about our friends, let's talk about the Woodford Legends Invitational Golf Tournament, which is Saturday and Sunday, June 7th and 8th at the Woodford Club in Versailles. That's coming up. That's like right around the corner. It's the third annual tournament. It showcases the talents of some of the biggest names in the history of the LPGA Tour. They tee it up alongside the top female amateur golfers from across the state of Kentucky. It's a 2-woman event, which is kind of cool. And it's very family friendly. Kids under 17 get in for free. Adults are only $15. And if you go on Saturday, the first 100 people in get a free hat, which is great. We love free things. Just some of the biggest names in the history of women's golf will be there. Jane Blaylock made 299 consecutive cuts on the LPGA Tour so if you want to put that in comparison, from 1998 through 2005, Tiger Woods made 142 consecutive cuts on the PGA Tour. So, Jane Blaylock has Tiger beat there. It's going to be really cool, and it's an event that gives back. Their charity is KVC Kentucky, which provides behavioral health care, substance use treatment, crisis intervention, and family strengthening services to children, adults, and families across 81 counties in the state. So we're big fans of the Woodford Legends Invitational Tournament, and if you're looking for something to do that weekend, get up there. Maybe I'll come up there for it, and while I'm there, I'll get some Country Boy Brewing. So very excited for that event that's coming up. And I'm very excited to finally talk to Jacob Polacheck, who, along with Jack Pilgrim, was in Memphis this past weekend. So you guys were there for the EYBL event, and I have been trying to catch up on what I missed while I was in Ireland all day and all yesterday. I spent, kind of catching up on coverage on the site, but I will fully admit that basketball recruiting is like the hardest thing to catch up on these days. So I need you all to kind of fill me in on who Kentucky watched, who was there. We know Mark Pope was there. So just let's start with a rundown of the biggest names you guys saw in action and who's on Kentucky's radar.
Yeah. Jack, you want me to kick this off?
Yep, all you.
There we go. Well, I think the first name that we need to talk about is Tyron Stokes, because he's the number one player in the country. He was supposed to visit Kentucky last week. He had that visit postponed. We were all wondering why that visit was postponed. One day later, we find out he's playing in the EYBL. That is why he wasn't visiting, and he was awesome this week. I had my doubts heading in about his game. He was number one in the class, but I thought he kind of looked like a bull in a china shop, just using his power and strength to get to the rim and do what he wants. This time around, he just has so much more finesse to his game. He looks like he's in much better shape and can really do everything. The jump shot looked really good. So I'm not worried about Kentucky standing there with the visit being postponed. I expect that to get rescheduled. And I think Kentucky is in that top group with Louisville and Kansas as some of the other schools involved there. And then there was the guys that maybe are new names for Kentucky. The big one is Cole Rosario, who I just put up an article. That's why I was a little late to hopping on here. I talked to Cole Rosario, who received a call from Alvin Brooks earlier today. He was the biggest stock riser, I'd say, of the event. He was the talk of the whole EYBL this weekend. 6'4" guard with Moravian Prep, which is part of the Overtime Elite League. And he was excellent. He's got a bunch of schools after him right now, but I would expect that list to just continue to grow over the next few days. Then I did have some people tell me over on the 3SSB circuit some new names, which were very interesting. Obviously, Jack and I were focused on Nike, but people were talking about Cameron Williams, a 2026 four-star forward who has blown up. He's now, I think, top 100 in the country, but On3's got him ranked super high at 27. So he's a guy that is approaching 5-star status in the 2026 class. And then you got 2027 prospect Bruce Branch. He was a guard that really impressed. I guess he's a small forward guard, 6'7". He's ranked number 8 on the On3 industry ranking, but On3 has him number 2 overall. I had a scout tell me that they think he has a case to be not only the best player in 2027, but arguably the best player in all of high school basketball. So I think Kentucky I heard that he had a great game in front of the Kentucky staff, and he is arguably one of the top guys that Kentucky could be going after in 2027. So those were the names that I heard about and that I saw in Memphis that I think really impressed and saw their stock rise this weekend.
Yeah, so before we move it over to Jack, I wanted to ask both of you all, these recruiting events, if you haven't been, it's just kind of chaos. And I love the pictures of the coaches because, you always have to have, Mark Pope is here watching, Alvin Brooks is here watching. Do you ever feel weird when you're taking those pictures like a stalker? I mean, it just cracks me up because people want those pictures. We know that people want those pictures because they get shared and shared and shared. But do you have a method to to make it seem like you're not stalking these people? Or is it just everybody knows I got to take this picture, so let's just get it out of the way? What do you say, Jack?
Yeah, it's very weird. I think there's just an understanding that it's not for the coach, it's for the kid when they go scroll through Twitter later in the day that that logo was in attendance for that kid specifically. So I think once you get past that awkwardness stage of hey, I'm sneaking a picture of you from across the gym, and yes, there is a method. I like to round the corner, and if there's a net or a a stanchion or something that I can kind of hide behind and just kind of poke my phone out from the side so they don't see me stalking them. So there's
that's not creepy.
Yeah,
that makes it less creepy.
That makes it cooler. Yeah.
There's no way to not be creepy with it. Unfortunately,
that's it. That's why I just go straight up to him, just snap the pic, say hey.
And yeah,
if we're going to talk about this, we need to ask Jack about the picture with Mark Pope and Chris Hero, Tyler Hero's dad.
Why was he punching?
Yes.
What was that photo about?
So he's coach Tyler Hero's dad, Team Hero. Just in case you guys didn't know, it's Tyler Hero's.
Thank you.
Tyler Hero's basketball program. His dad is the head coach. Chris Hero is the head coach. So while the game is going on, both Mark Pope and Cody Feger are watching on the, alongside Chris Hero 5-6 feet away. Chris Hero turns, sees the Kentucky coaches right there, goes, "Oh, my guys." And they have this conversation as the game's going on. So kind of distracted, but, definitely sharing enough time and sharing pleasantries. Emphasis on pleasantries, not the alternative. And just, I saw the interaction late. And I mean, it looks like Mark Pope's ready to kick this guy's ass. I mean, it's just a terrible, terrible picture. But how quickly the interaction unfolded, I like that was the best version of the picture. And I went through like you can, set on a live photo. You can set like where it is. That's the best. The alternative is like blurry, or you can't see either of their faces, or like it shows Pope, but it doesn't show Chris Hero. It's just one of those where like, you take the picture and you're like, it's terrible. One, you just have to own it and try to explain that it was not as bad as it looked. But because, yes, it does look like Mark Pope is trying to kick Chris Hero's ass, unfortunately.
My magnum opus is the picture I took of John Calipari holding the shotgun with Mark Pope at last year's, I think that was Indy's EYBL. And that was just got to be at the right time. You always got to be ready to take some pictures. You never know what the hell Calipari is going to be doing. I still have no idea what that conversation was, but you have to wonder what was going on with that conversation.
He's probably talking about the KSR staff and just taking us down one by one.
Yeah, there was some good Chin Coleman jokes on the KS board. I remember that made me laugh. So.
Oh yeah. So speaking of our live chat here, we got what do you call is it super chats?
Super chat.
Shout out to Westopher Robin. Thank you for the super chat. We can divide that up, or one of us can just use it to get some country
More
light.
Country Boy. Yeah.
I know, exactly. So the other picture I thought was really cool was the one of Mark Pope and his daughter. So I think it was his youngest daughter came and joined him. I thought that was awesome because when I interviewed Leanne Pope, Mark's wife, her dad was a college coach and used to take her on the recruiting trail to these events. So I thought that was kind of like a nice full circle moment. So I have no idea if Shay wanted to be there or if she was just being dragged along, but all of the same, it was kind of cool to see the family out and about. And then Shay and one of the other daughters joined him in the relief efforts down in London. So big weekend for the Pope family. But let's talk more recruiting. So were there any other takeaways from Memphis that we need to know about? I mean, did you all have any like really good food? Did you get some barbecue? Did you go rendezvous?
We did not go to Rendezvous. We went to Central Barbecue, though. That was amazing. It was the original location. We walk in, and actually Bucky McMillan is there, new head coach at Texas A&M. So he's sitting there. He's grubbing on some barbecue. That was one of the best meals that we had. Although Jacob will attest to this, we went to the shadiest looking Mexican food truck, just like. Out in the middle, it was like 11 o'clock at night. We had just gotten out of the event, and it just looked appetizing. We were like, "Hey, I think I'm in on this. If you're in on this, it looks dangerous, but hey, I'm kind of feeling a little bit of danger." So yes, the food was very, very good while we were down there. Other takeaways, I guess I just say that Pope swimming in the big fish waters, you just wonder, like, will he go after the best of the best of the best? We saw him try in that first cycle, landed Jasper and Malachi, but just still kind of getting his footing and trying to figure all this stuff out. He's going after every heavy hitter that this class has to offer. I mean, you go down the list, it starts up top with Tyron Stokes, but you have Jordan Smith, you have Christian Collins, you have Taja Reza, Jason Crow, every heavy hitter that everybody in the country is going after. Mark Pope was sitting right there at both events, even up in Iowa at 3SSB, also going to see Taylon Kinney, going to see Anthony Thompson, Caleb Holt, all of the guys that, top 10, top 15, top 20 in the class Kentucky's going after. So I don't know how many they're going to take, obviously, with the roster construction and, retention being so important. You never know how many you're actually going to lose and how many spots you're going to have. So I think they're just kind of casting a wide net of, hey, let's get in deep with all these best of the best in the class and see what happens and kind of put ourselves in position to take a couple of them. And I think Jason Crow, It's probably the likeliest. We just saw Joe Tipton kind of put in a pick for him. A lifelong 30-year relationship with Jason Hart. His father was an Inglewood high school legend there alongside Jason Hart, former best friends, teammates. Jason Hart is Jason Crow Jr.'s godfather. So the relationship is as deep as it comes. And, hey, he's the number 6 player in the country. So that always helps where 30-year relationships work in your favor. So I think Kentucky's in a really good spot there along several other high profile guys.
So we got some good questions rolling in from the chat. First of all, Julie Sheving is late, but it's her birthday, so we're totally going to forgive her.
Happy birthday,
So cheers
Julie.
to you, Julie. Happy birthday. We're so happy to have you with us. We've got some basketball recruiting questions. Dylan Morton wants to know, does Mark Poach approach high school recruiting the same as the transfer portal? Seems like we make contact with a lot more kids compared than with Cal. It seems like Pope is casting a wide net. Jacob, I will toss that one to you.
I wouldn't necessarily say that it's more. I think it just depends on the year. I think that he definitely approaches it differently. I think that it's more of this time of year, you want to evaluate guys, you want to get in touch with as many guys and just slowly cut down that list and prioritize your top 5 to 7 targets and move from there. But I think that it's not about Mark Pope approaching high school recruiting differently than Cal. I think it's all college coaches approaching high school recruiting differently than they did 2 years ago. Like you walk through that gym and you're guaranteed to hear coaches talking about house settlement, rev share, just how to navigate this with the transfer portal, how many high school guys they're actually taking. So you're seeing less and less high school players being prioritized, which makes those top high school guys even more important, because if you're only taking 2 high school guys, 3 high school guys, you want to take those top guys. And that's why guys like Tyron Stokes, guys like Jordan Smith, all of those guys are so much more, I would say, valuable in this day and age.
All right, Jacob, we're going to stick with you because we have a specific question for you from the chat. It's from JJ and Papa 2020. It says, can you get Jacob to explain canceling or is going to reschedule pertaining to the Stokes recruiting visit?
I don't believe the visit was canceled. I believe it was postponed, and it's a pretty easy explanation. He was playing at the Nike UIBL this past weekend, which is when he was supposed to visit.
How did we know that, Jacob? How did we know that he was going to be there?
How did we know that he was going to be at the Nike UIBL?
He was going to be playing?
Because if you're subscribed to KSR Plus, you will have seen that story.
There we are.
And so,
and you would have seen Stokes's little drama
Stokes
queen
was not too happy
coming after
me. I'll fully explain. I broke the news of his visit a month ago, and then I started making some calls, making sure that visit was still on. I was told by his mother that visit was postponed, and then I got a message from someone saying, hey, the reason it's postponed is because he's playing in the UIBL this weekend. I went and confirmed that with some people close to Stokes and put that story out. Maybe minutes later, I learned that I am blocked by Tyron Stokes on Twitter and that he tweeted out something along the lines of, I can't get any privacy anymore. Or
man.
Yeah,
he used to take that up with his mom then.
I'll give a kid some privacy. So I'm sorry, Tyron. Everyone was going to find out a day later, which they did. So I decided to put that out. And you played very well this weekend, Tyron. I was very impressed with the play.
Look at all this drama I missed, man. Oh, that's crazy stuff.
Now he has to come to Kentucky just so we can get that interaction in the Joe Kraft Center with Jacob and Tyron Stokes face to face.
When we were at the EYBL, I said to Jack, I'm like, I think you should probably handle the Tyron Stokes interview if we can get a hold of him. He's not an easy guy to track down, and we were not able to track him down. I don't think anybody tracked him down for an interview because he does not like talking to the media, but I was going to definitely hand that one off to Jack.
He disrespectfully declined.
His privacy needed to be respected. All right, one final question from the chat, and it actually leads me to my next basketball recruiting note. Otis Hudson asked, who do you think Braden Hawthorne chooses tomorrow at 7 o'clock? He is announcing his decision. He really hopes he comes to Kentucky. So, Jack, lead us off on the Braden Hawthorne primer.
So I'll be honest, I just didn't even think anything of it. I just thought that, out of sight, out of mind, he took his official visit to Kentucky. I had heard things went very, very well after that visit. But then, he starts visiting Pittsburgh, and you start hearing talks of, West Virginia ramping back up. He was previously committed to West Virginia. And then you start wondering, okay, well, he's obviously wanting an expanded role. He's wanting, more NIL dollars, because if he commits to Kentucky, not only is he accepting the 13th spot, but he's also very likely at that point, taking less money. So you just kind of not think anything of it. And then you kind of reach out, the news breaks from Travis Branham that he's committing tomorrow at 7 o'clock. You reach out to some folks around the Kentucky program and say, hey, assuming that this isn't anything I have to worry about. And they're like, I don't necessarily agree with that. And you're like, whoa, hold on. Wait, what? This is actually still on the table. So then you do digging, and we driving back from Memphis, we have 5 hours to kill. So Jacob and I were really just kind of bouncing ideas back, making phone calls, and really just trying to get to the bottom of it. And I think we got a pretty strong pulse, and we have been talking extensively about it over on KS Board. Make sure you go subscribe there. But I do think Kentucky is very much in the running, and it's going to be a decision on Braden to decide, am I going to take the money? There are schools that are offering more money to him. Others are offering a more expanded role that he'll be able to play from day one, and kind of be a early star for the program. That's not something Kentucky can offer, but Kentucky can offer Kentucky, and none of the other programs involved. I'm not thinking Virginia Tech has a chance. I'm not thinking Duke has a chance. I think it is going to be one of those three other finalists between Kentucky, Pitt, and West Virginia, and all three of those programs are kind of offering different things. And it is my understanding that Kentucky is very, very much in the mix there, coming down the last 24 hours before a decision. So I don't think one has been finalized. I don't think Kentucky has been told. They certainly have not been told no, but I don't think any of the other schools have been told no at this stage either. So we're in a wait and see ball game. He sent out a tweet, said something to the effect of, I haven't even told my parents where I'm going. So I think he is trying to keep it as close to the vest as possible. But hey, Kentucky is, potentially going to add a yet another piece, and that kind of adds a new whole dynamic to the, roster movement of the offseason. So very, very fun times.
Yeah, so we'll be on Boom Watch on Tuesday. That's pretty exciting. So that happens at 7 o'clock. Also tomorrow, I don't know if the timing is coincidental or intentional, but Matt is going to interview Mark Pope. An hour-long pre-taped interview that will air on KSR Wednesday, I believe. Previously, Pope told Matt that he didn't want to talk until the roster was set. So on one hand, if they tape the interview tomorrow afternoon, that's before the announcement of Braden Hawthorne. But if they don't air it until Wednesday morning, maybe they can mention some stuff. So we will see. We'll be waiting for that. I missed Mark Pope's press conference when I was in Ireland. We won't go through all that because it would take us way, way longer than an hour. But I'm really looking forward to seeing what he says to Matt. I enjoyed reading your all's coverage of it. All the beautiful things and hopeful comments about Otega Owe, who is still mulling whether or not to pull his name out of the NBA draft. It's looking more and more like he is going to withdraw, but we'll see. The deadline is May 28th, which is a week from Wednesday. So not too long until we'll know for sure. So, and you guys will talk plenty more basketball recruiting. I believe sources say is tomorrow night, Jack. Is that right?
Believe so, yes. Hey, we're going to make that up tomorrow night. And
then Jacob, we've got a Here Comes the Boom on Thursday, unless there's an emergency episode that needs to be taped.
If we get a commitment from Braden Hawthorne on Tuesday, we'll probably do some sort of commitment reaction video. If not, we'll save all that talk for Thursday.
Fair enough. So if you're not already, subscribe to the KSR YouTube channel and like us. It looks like we're still at 49,000 subscribers, 49.1. Let's get us up to 50 by this time next week. If you're not subscribed, do it. We love to have you bookmark the page and all that, but if you're subscribed, you'll get an alert the minute either one of these guys go live or when Zoom action drops with Brandon and Zack.
Ooh.
So All right, Zach,
One.
it's your time to shine. We're going to talk about NBA conference finals are set. I didn't get to watch much of them because they were happening while I was asleep in Ireland, and but I did see part of the game yesterday. We had Game 7 of Thunder Nuggets. I turned it on. It was really close in the second quarter, and then I went and did some laundry, and it was not close anymore. So the Thunder kind of ran away with that one. Casey Wallace dunked on Jokic, which was pretty cool. That highlight was awesome. I really love Jokic's quote after the game. Someone asked him what his plans were for the offseason. And he said, quote, "The next couple of days are going to be a lot of beer, probably." So cheers to him. Let's send him some Country Boy. Get him some Country Lights, although he probably likes the Cliff Jumper or the much stronger beers. But that was a very relatable moment from Jokic. But yeah, we have Game 1 of, is it Thunder Timberwolves tomorrow?
Yeah.
All right. Tell us all about it. This is your wheelhouse. So take it away.
Two things. First of all, I've got the picture of Rob Lowe with his NFL logo hat. That's what I think every time I wear this little generic NBA shirt, but I broke this one out. Forgot I had this one. It also reminded me that I had just way too many shirts from like 2011 in my closet that I'll need to deal with. Second note I want to make real quick is, Jack, I take full blame for Jason Tatum's injury. Because last Monday
I hate you forever.
You KSR cursed him.
And I did. I said my Cavaliers are getting screwed over because they're hurt. Boston is not hurt. I said that. And then it kind of comes out, not even the Tatum stuff, like who obviously tore his Achilles like 3 hours after that. Kristaps Porzingis can't even breathe anymore and was like trying to play basketball games. So Boston actually got kind of screwed over by injuries there. New York was probably going to win that game anyways without Jason Tatum. But yeah, so we've got 4 awesome teams in this in the conference finals. New York's the only big market. So for all these, people that are, the ratings, blah, 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 people are going to hate this conference finals. But we've got some of I think we're going to see some awesome, exciting basketball. You've got a bunch of stars everywhere. You've got 5, we'll count 5, well, 6 technically, I think, if you count Isaiah Jackson, Kentucky players in these 4 teams. And 4 of them, 3 of them were like they're kind of their star players. And then you've got Casey Wallace, who in year 2 has just turned himself into one of the best on-ball defenders in the entire league. Like, he's one of the quickest players in the league. He's so good at defense. He was, like you said, dunked on Jokic last night. Like, he lives in fast break. He loves to get like a one-on-one in transition where he just, does like a weird lefty layup or something. He's just so much fun to watch. And it's kind of crazy to see him really blossom into this kind of like glue guy on defense for the Thunder. Just in his second year. I think we all kind of knew from watching in Kentucky that he was going to be something special, but to see him like step up in these moments and have to guard guys like Jamal Murray, who did not have a great playoffs, and really hasn't had a great playoff since the finals run in 2023. But to see him do that was awesome. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander has been so much better over the last few games for the Thunder. He's going to win MVP whenever the NBA decides to announce that. I mean, yesterday would have been a good time to do it right after the game ended, or maybe today, but I know they're doing all rookie teams tomorrow, so I doubt they'll do MVP until maybe later in the week or something. But Shai's probably going to win that one. Well-deserved. I think he's in year 6 or 7 now, but this is his first conference finals, the first conference finals for the Thunder since 2016 when they had Russ and KD. So it's just kind of a whole new era in OKC, and they're a lot of fun to watch. I've been trying to rack my brain about who I'm going to choose in that series, and I think both these series are probably going to go 7 games. I'm going to pick the Thunder to beat the Timberwolves in 7 games, but the Timberwolves are awesome. Like, Julius Randle has pretty much redefined his entire playoff career. He went from, actually pulled up the stats because they're like just kind of mind blowing to think about. Over his first 3 playoff series of his career, he shot 34% from the field and 28% from 3. That's terrible for you non-mathematicians out there. But in the 2 series this year, 51% from the field, 34.5% from 3. He's just been amazing. Like, he's been outside of Anthony Edwards. If Julius Randle plays the way that he had in the last playoff series this year, the Wolves probably lose in the first round. But you've got Julius Randle playing like an all-star level right now, and he's the reason the Wolves are in this spot right now where they have a chance to go to, I think it would be their first NBA Finals, something like that. None of these teams have won a championship in 50 years is the craziest thing either. So you're going to get some sort of weird, there's going to be history made no matter what. But Julius Randle's been awesome. We're not going to see any Rob Dillingham because he's just buried on the bench there. There's rookies just aren't going to get any playing time with that. He'd probably get exposed, if we're being honest, as well, playing against a defense as talented as the Thunder, which is like, it's just suffocating. Like you were talking about yesterday's game, they were down like 11 early, and then they ended up with like I think the highest lead in the third quarter or fourth quarter was 43 points. So like they just shut them down. They had Alex Caruso, a 6'5" white bald dude, shut down literally the best player in the entire world, which is just kind of crazy to think about. Like they couldn't have any of the 7-footers do it, but Alex Caruso was in there fouling a lot as well, but they can't call every foul. So awesome stuff from them. The Thunder are just really fun to watch. Jack can attest to this. Shea has been like my favorite player for several years now. Just love watching him. He's so much fun. I don't care whatever foul grifting narratives you can try and create. They're just not true. So he's been awesome. I'll flip to the other side real quick before I end my rant. Yeah, I hate the Pacers. I really do, because they just embarrassed me, made me look like a fool, and the entire city of Cleveland. But they're really fun to watch play basketball. Shout out to David Barrett. David Barrett, have a six-pack on us. 25 bones. He was really into my take about Julius Randle there. Shout out to David. But yeah, so what was I saying? Yeah, the Pacers, they're really fun to watch. As much as I hate them, they just play offense so well. Halliburton's really fun to watch. Isaiah Jackson, like I said, tore his Achilles, I think, in November or something like that. A lot of Achilles injuries happening this year, like more than normal. So, Steve, that's a whole conspiracy theory that Steven and I like to share about why there's more injuries going on. Steven can chime in with that if he wants to, but that's something he dips into Kentucky as well, about his injuries theories and all that. So I entertain him with that because there's some truth to it as well. But so he's out. Then you got Karl-Anthony Towns on the other side. And I think like 2 or 3 weeks ago, whenever we did this the first time when I was on, I basically said that Karl-Anthony Towns has to have a good playoff run because this is kind of like this is like a moment for him like Julius Randle, where he hasn't really been known as a playoff riser. And the Knicks were kind of maybe going to go as far as he takes them, like Jalen Brunson. The other guys are going to play well. How good does Cat play? He's been pretty good so far. I'll just kind of rattle off some numbers right now. Real quick. Hasn't been perfect because he still fouls the living hell out of like everybody. Like he just can't stay in games because Tom Thibodeau wants to play all his guys for 45 minutes. Cat just can't get there because he keeps fouling, but he's averaging 20 and 11, shooting 48 from the field, 34 from 3. He's just been really good. He plays super hard. The defense isn't always there. You know, he gets a little lackadaisical with the fouls and stuff, but when he's playing well, the Knicks are just really, really fun to watch. I think I'm still going to go with the Pacers in 7 in this series, which is going to set up a Thunder versus Pacers finals, which is like, that's David Stern's, rest in peace. That's his like worst nightmare scenario for like an NBA finals, is have 2 of like the smallest markets in the league. But it's going to be so much fun to watch. I'm excited for all these series. The poor Thunder, they didn't get like any time off. They're going to have like a 2-day break because for some reason the Western Conference Finals starts before the Eastern Conference Finals. Yes, yeah. Even though the Eastern Conference teams have all had like 4 or 5 days of rest now. So that was kind of weird how they did that. And it kind of screwed the Nuggets over actually, because Aaron Gordon's hamstring tore itself in half essentially because they kept playing basically, within 18 hours of each other, these guys. So there's more fodder for your injury conspiracy theories, Steven. But yeah, so the playoffs they've been awesome so far. There was kind of some lulls in the first round, but the whole semifinals were awesome. The conference finals are going to be awesome. I would implore everyone to go watch these games. I'll be tapped into all of them. We'll be talking about it on KS4, but you've got Kentucky flavor in all of them outside of the Pacers. So me personally, I'm rooting for a Thunder. I want a Thunder Knicks because I want to get as many UK guys in there as we can, so we can keep watching those guys. But it's going to be a fun series or fun conference finals all around. And we got some Kentucky guys to cheer on. So watch out for Casey Moss. I think we got another big series coming, and he's going to guard Anthony Edwards a lot. So that's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I'm cheering for the Knicks simply to see how Knicks fans will handle it. Because I sent Steven the clips that were going viral of just New York fans losing it on the streets after they like clinched their first ECF finals. Yeah, look at this. Like, and if you go to the one where that guy's just sitting on a massive billboard, like this, they are crazy. Like it is wild to me. I was scrolling through my phone when I woke up one morning in Ireland and like going through these. Knicks fans are they're a different breed. There was
a viral clip going around of a bunch of Knicks fans throwing trash bags. Jack, I'm sure you saw this, throwing trash bags on top of some Pacers fan or something like that. And now all these like Ben Stiller reached out and like I think Halliburton ended up hooking up the Pacers fan with like free tickets to conference finals games. So some really bad Knicks fans ended up making some Pacers fan like have like the month of his life essentially. So
well, to be fair, I feel the same way about the city of Indianapolis, so I'll throw a trash bag on them any day.
Can confirm.
Yeah, but
yeah, we're not big fans of Indianapolis, that's for sure.
But it can redeem itself. Final Four, we can learn to love it. Any other thoughts on the NBA playoffs from Jack or Jacob? They're just excited for the games.
Jack, I know you got thoughts, Jack.
I will not be watching. I hate the NBA, and I hate all 4 teams still in it. So go Celtics.
Fair.
Don't count out the Bucks. I know it's round robin. I think they're coming out through the elimination bracket. They're look out.
Rising like the Undertaker.
Yeah.
When Giannis is on the Cavs next year, we can revisit our conversations about the Bucks.
I think it works something like once you win the losers bracket, you play the finals with a winner. I don't remember how the NBA playoffs work, but I think the Bucks have a good chance this year.
All right. Well, next up on our rundown is my favorite story of the day. Brock Vandagriff, former Kentucky quarterback who retired from the sport earlier this year, proposed to his girlfriend. And the way in which he did it, you have to see it to believe it, because if you know Brock, you know he loves to hunt, he loves to fish. Apparently his girlfriend does too. He proposed with an antler that says, "Will you marry me?" painted on it. I mean, he put the pictures on Instagram. I could not believe it. Props to him for the creativity. I mean, some people called it cringy. I think it's honestly very sweet. I'm not going to yuck on their yum. But it is definitely one of the most unique proposals I've ever seen. Jack, you and I, we are the married people on this panel. So I thought we could share our proposal stories. I think we've heard yours before. I don't know if I've shared mine.
I don't know if I've heard Jack's actually.
Oh, man, it's a good one.
Maybe
I'll share mine real quick because it's not as entertaining. But my husband and I were on vacation in Pensacola City or Pensacola Beach, and we were getting ready to go to dinner, and he wanted to take some pictures out near a pier. And so he was asking me, like, giving me prompts, like pose like you are super excited or something. And we went through, and he had a couple different cues, and one of them was pose like you were just asked, like I just asked you to marry me. And I was like, what? And then he dropped down on one knee and opened the ring box, and there was the ring.
Good.
So it was good. Very, very sweet, but not as interesting as Jack's, which kind of had a false start, right? If I remember correctly, they would say you had a plan and then you had to modify the plan. And
yeah, well, it was the Lion King play here in Louisville, and I had a plan to. I had a connection with somebody that it was actually I told you this story, Zach. You remember?
I remember now. Yeah.
Yeah. I told you in confidence privately. He does the national anthem very often. Darian Sanders is his name, but he worked his way up in theater life and is now Simba on Broadway. So he was Simba in the Louisville play, and he sings at my church, and kind of knew a close somebody through him, and I was like, hey, I know this is a long shot, but is there any way that I can have you kind of help out with this proposal, like come out after the show ends and sing "Can You Feel the Love Tonight" or something. It's Katie's favorite, kind of one of our things, as dating growing up. We've been dating for 10 years.
One of your cute things. So, cute couple things.
All the cute couple-y
Disgusting.
things. So, it's gross. It's disgusting. But it was our thing. So, that was my idea. Unfortunately, I'm stupid, and I booked the last leg of their tour. It was the evening show on the last night of their tour. They had to leave right afterward to go out of town. So he was like, if it was any other show, I could do it. So unfortunately you picked the wrong show. So instead I had to, take her out to the concourse area at intermission, and I just proposed at the play, but just, it wasn't as extravagant as I wanted it to be, but we're dating 10 years and now married for 5. So yeah,
I think it all worked out.
It worked out.
And I think it's going to work out for Brock Vandagriff and his bride to be. I'm sure if the engagement pictures are any indication, the wedding is going to be something to be seen. So Zach and Jacob, I know you have significant others, so be taking notes. Yeah, be taking notes. We're going to wrap up. Yeah, we're going to wrap up with a KS Board Q&A. We asked our KS Board subscribers, our members, to give us their best questions of the week. And we'll start with Finnegan Ham, who just made fun of me for saying I'm not going to yuck on their yum. And you know what? There are everybody's different in this world. Whatever makes you happy makes you happy. So we'll start with your question, though. You asked, did you or Mr. Tyler, who's my husband, try to speak with an Irish accent while in Ireland? Did you accidentally slip into one by the end of the trip? And he has no idea how appropriate this question is, because my husband, and I love him to death, and this is also my way of testing him to see if he watches this show. He has a really bad habit when we're on vacation in certain places, especially like overseas, out of the country, of adopting the accent of the people who live there. So the best example of this is when we went to Jamaica with a bunch of friends. And by the end of the trip, he was like, adding "mom" to everything. And like, we made so much fun of him for it. So he did the same thing when we went to Italy. He did the same thing when we went to England. So the whole time in Ireland, I'm just waiting. I'm just waiting for him to like slip up and have like, the top of the morning or something. And he was trying so hard not to, but there were a couple times where I caught him and he got so mad. So yeah, I love you, honey. And we're about to celebrate our 13th wedding anniversary. So a week from tomorrow. So it's a good reminder for me. But yeah, so let's see. Another question. UK 96 Champs asked, at some point, I just want to hear about your Ireland trip. It's on his bucket list. It should be. Ireland is great. I don't know if it's been on my bucket list, but we have wanted to go. And
that's crazy. That for sure.
Yeah, Nashville got a nonstop flight to Dublin recently, so it seemed like the perfect opportunity. Oh yeah, that's Ryan Lemon's Irish counterpart, O'Ryan Lemond, who I found in a pub in Galway, and he can play a mean fiddle. That was hilarious. I texted that picture to Drew immediately. Ireland's beautiful. We did Dublin, we did Galway, we did the Dingle Peninsula, we saw the Cliffs of Moher. That's Kylemore Abbey. Just really beautiful. And we were so lucky with the weather. Like the whole time we were getting ready, we were packing and everybody's like, well, just know it's going to be colder than you thought. It's going to rain. Just be prepared. So we looked at the forecast and it said 60s and not a lot of rain. So, but we kept people's advice in mind and packed long pants, long sleeves, sweaters, rain jackets. It was like 70 degrees and sunny the entire time. So we were super lucky. I think it rained maybe an hour while we were there. Oh, that's me holding a baby lamb that was born 3 days earlier.
Cool.
Yeah. Sheep are everywhere in Ireland. I mean, sheep and horses and cows. Definitely a lot of sheep. Like I know I'm from Kentucky, so I should expect to see horses and be used to that. But it was kind of odd to me how just every single person there at their house just had a horse. It was kind of odd. But it was very, very beautiful. We went to a sheep herding demonstration. We did lots of boat trips and eco tours and all that. At one point, my husband joked, he was like, did you plan like an old person's trip? Because we would look around and be surrounded by like older people. But you know what? I had a great time. We went to our fair share of pubs as well. It's just like the Guinness storehouse was really cool. Zack, I sent you the picture of the plaque or whatever it was with the Geoghegan name on it. So the Geoghegan brothers were part of the Guinness storehouse. I thought that was pretty neat.
Yeah, my dad loved that.
Yeah, I had no idea that name was Irish. So
oh yeah,
very cool.
Mick Geoghegan used to be a thing apparently.
Yeah. In this video, I don't know if we've gone by it yet. We got to see puffins, which are the coolest thing on the planet. There's these like very tiny, tiny little birds, and they only live in a few places in the world, and they're very distinctive looking. They're like black and white with these crazy orange beaks. And we went out to this island where nobody lives, and you could see them, and they were so cute. And we just saw like lots of cool wildlife, beautiful scenery. We survived driving on the left side of the road, which was crazy. And everybody told us we were crazy for renting a car while we were over there because you have to drive on the opposite side of the road. But it wasn't too bad. We survived. So if we can survive that, we can survive another 13 years, right? But no, go to Ireland. It's worth it. 100%. Get ready to eat lots of potatoes because I think that's all they eat over there. Like potatoes in any form or fashion are huge on the menu. So definitely get it on your bucket list, make it happen. So worth it. We're going to finish with the most serious question of the day from CFE of KSR, a KS board member. Can we get away from calling hot dogs glizzies and go back to just calling them hot dogs? This is appropriate with Memorial Day weekend coming up, right? Can we have that conversation? I believe it's time. So I'll start this. We'll go around and give our takes on it. Did you all know why a glizzy or a hot dog is called a glizzy?
I'm not sure I know the meme origin.
I had to look it up today, and the answer surprised me. So if any of you all
I
know,
imagine it's inappropriate, but
it's kind of
slightly.
so. Apparently, the length of a hot dog is the length of a Glock, like on a gun, and that's like DC slang. Like it got started there for some reason. I had no idea, and that still makes like no sense to me. So, but we'll start with Jacob. Should we stop calling hot dogs glizzies and just call them hot dogs?
I got a mixed answer here because I think if you're anytime you're referring to a hot dog, you're calling it a glizzy, that's overkill. I think you got to find the right reason, the right time to call it. But yeah, I think from time to time it's okay. But if you're calling it every time you refer to a hot dog as a glizzy, that's a little bit of overkill.
So give us like a scenario in which it's cool to use glizzy.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about, a scenario.
I'm excited for this.
Yeah, no, I hadn't thought of this yet, but I was thinking I was going to be asked. I think.
Hey, Jacob, you want to go grab a couple glizzies downtown?
Yeah, I like that. But if you're at a baseball game, no, we're not calling it a glizzy. We're calling it a hot dog.
Right.
But just hanging out, yeah, we can call it a glizzy. All right, yeah, I like that. That was on the fly right there.
I like it. You know what would go well with a glizzy? A country boy, a country light. So there's our segue. Jack, what's your thought on glizzies?
Indifferent. I don't know. I don't think I've ever said glizzy in a like
you're a liar.
Joking in a non-joking. It has like a weird just connotation, you know. Like
it feels weird, yeah.
It's just not something that you know exactly when you're using it, and it's always in joke form. And I, just probably for this.
At what point is it not a joke, though? You know, at what point are you just unironically saying
it? In a serious point, I have never said glizzy in my life, and I refuse to call like, hey, let's go down the street and pick up a glizzy. 0% chance that those words are ever coming out of my mouth. So yes, I agree with this commenter that we're taking it out of the vocabulary entirely. And I mean, we don't like. I can do a like ballpark hot dog, but like it's not a part of my day-to-day life anyway. So like if we just want to take out the whole, besides like Memorial Day, 4th of July, things like that, cookouts, we can just take it out of the whole just vocabulary, diet, everything.
I love Steven's response here in the group chat or in the live chat. I can't explain it, but I don't like the texture of the word. Steven, you want to come on and explain that a little more? Because I love that.
I just don't like how it feels saying it. I don't know. I can't explain it. It just doesn't feel right. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's the back-to-back Z's and Y. I don't know. It just doesn't feel good.
Too many Z's in one word.
Yeah. And it just feels like you're saying something inappropriate the entire time, where it's like a joke that you don't get because you're too old to get. And so anytime you say the word, it's like, this is not a word that's meant for me to say.
I think the joke is the potential connotations that you can attach to it. I think that's the joke behind glizzy. But it's kind of like X and Twitter. Well, I guess maybe the opposite, but I still call it Twitter. So I'm going to call hot dog a glizzy.
Right. I like Gramps Gaming, who says glizzy sounds like a hot dog sprinkled with glitter, which sounds disgusting. I wouldn't like the texture of that either, but we do love the texture of Country Boy beer, and we're going to be consuming a lot of them this weekend. So cheers to Country Boy. Cheers to you guys. And we will be back. Even though Memorial Day is a holiday, we don't take holidays here at KSR. So we look at that. Impressive, Zach. Impressive.
No,
when are we going to finish the final beer in the 6-pack? Are you saving it for Memorial Day? Fair enough. We'll bring you back. All right, so we'll be here next Monday at 4:00. So if you want to pregame with us before a cookout or just not go to the cookout and hang out with us instead, we'll be here on the KSR YouTube channel. And that's our chat for today. We went a full hour and 8 minutes. Thanks for being here with us, and cheers.